Going to talk about long range shooting. Long range shooting specifically to do with the attempt to take beautiful trophy game at long distance. I've talked in the past somewhat to do about this long range aspect. I'll never change my mind about what I know, about what I think, and my lifelong experience that tells me what's really going on here. This whole long range aspect is driven by ego. We've got inexperienced people out here that are putting together rifles and selling to the consumer. These people have no formal training as gunsmiths, as gun makers, no formal training to do a long range shooting. And with that in mind, these people have taken a rifle. The rifle doesn't have the true capabilities for long range shooting. Long range shooting was really conceived around Bodines, Pennsylvania. There was a big club of people that shot. They had real bench rush rifles, 30 to 75 to 125 pound rifles on great big huge benches. At that time, you know, everybody used a universal scope. They were shooting deer as far as a mile in open field country. That's one thing. And they didn't shoot animals that weren't recovered. And bullets don't work. Most bullets don't work, or any bullet really doesn't work beyond its capabilities, beyond a certain distance. And you never use bullets that weren't designed for game. But this, having started out at that point many years ago in Bodines, Pennsylvania area, and brought here mostly to the west, we've got, as I said, people that are putting together rifle packages, and actually putting on long-range shooting seminars. Those people have never been trained themselves, but they're putting a rifle together. An untrained person claiming that he's a professional, that he's an expert, putting a rifle together? Nonsense. I've been building rifles professionally since 1969. I was building rifles 5 or 6 years before that for myself. I know what it takes to build an accurate rifle. You've got to use the very best components to build the rifle, the very best rifle barrels. Actions always, irregardless, have to be bedded to mate to the stock. You're not going to get a precision accurate rifle that's not properly put together. I put a rifle together that will shoot as well, or probably way far better than you can buy a rifle from anybody else, because every rifle that I built is an individual rifle for an individual situation, loads worked up for it. I have an entire lifetime of rifle building experience and expert hand loading experience. I have loaded for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different cartridges. Shot millions upon millions of rounds. Every rifle has to run on a different diet. Just because we're building whatever we're building at the time, let's say that we're going to build a 28 Nosler. One of them was going to shoot this bullet, one of them's going to shoot that bullet, one of them's going to shoot a different powder, one of them's going to shoot a different primer. To buy a rifle from somebody that's putting themselves forth is an expert in a long-range field that has never had any training, that has never had any lifelong experience to be able to basically hang their hat on anything. You just don't step out of a cold shower. You just don't step out of a cold shower, having never picked up a rifle and never done anything, one thing, and the next day now you're a long-range rifle building expert and you're a long-range rifle shooter. It doesn't work that way. It takes many years of experience. Our very best military snipers that have spent their time all over the world sniping men, guys that have retired, Marines that I've talked to, and so forth. Guys with 35, 45 years experience doing this sort of thing. They laugh. They laugh. Those guys aren't even put out into the field to do these things until they've spent about 3 years in training. You just don't all of a sudden just step into the field and become an expert. It doesn't work that way. You can't use the same load, the same exact load in the same rifle and expect the same level of accuracy. The level of accuracy at 100 yards is one thing. What does that rifle shoot at 500 yards? What does it shoot at 1,000 yards? Do you have the capabilities to understand that? Have you checked the rifle? You're claiming that you've got a long-range rifle that you're selling to somebody, claiming that you're a long-range expert. The rifle only shoots an 1.5 inch group at 100 yards. What's it going to shoot at 1,000? It can't possibly shoot a reasonable group for taking game at long range, which you shouldn't be attempting in the first place. This is all wrong. It's given the shooting fraternity a terrible bad name. And the other aspect is almost all these videos that are put out here to do with this long range taking a game. This game is killed with one shot, just smack, dab, drops right now in its tracks. Oh, really? At 1,149 yards. With a bullet that doesn't even open, a bullet that has hardly no remaining energy to cleanly take game. Energy's been totally ignored. Figured out many years ago by people, experienced people such as myself, that we needed somewhere around 1,800, 2,000 foot-pounds energy to properly kill elk at long range. That's when we felt that 400 or 500 yards was long range, and I still think that 400 or 500 yards is long range, and I don't think that anybody's got any reason shooting much past that at all. These videos that you're seeing put on by these stepped right out of the shower, cold shower experts, green as grass. You pay attention. Look at that video. It's been taken back to the shop and it's been doctored. Perhaps that elk was shot 7 times, 12 times, 14, 15 times, shot at that many times. Perhaps hit once or twice. Maybe they were able to work in on it at 75 yards and finish it off. They don't show you that. That's really what's happening. These one-shot long-range, extreme long-range kills, 99 9/10% of it is nothing but a lie. Is nothing but a lie. Is that who you want to buy a rifle from? Somebody that's going to lie to you? Lie to you? If he's going to lie to you, producing this video, not being honest to himself or to the shooting world, and being unethical, using unethical practices to take game. This game deserves better. We've had a tremendous amount of predation on all aspects of our wildlife in this part of Wyoming. Now we got the two-legged varmint pulling the same sort of stunts. They don't care as long as people swallow these lies after lies after lies being produced on film, that we're doing this or we're doing that, we did this, we did that. I know better. I have an extreme amount of experience shooting game. People that are doing these things would have to live my whole lifetime to have the experience that I've got shooting game. To shooting game from reasonable distances right up close to fairly long distance. I build rifles capable in the accuracy department of taking game under perfect ideal conditions at reasonably long range, and I think 500 or 600 yards is reasonably long range. I don't think anything past that should even be attempted. And it proves that it shouldn't be attempted, because I know for an absolute fact that these films that you're seeing are being doctored to show you exactly what they want you to see, to try to sell you on that long range package that doesn't shoot worth a damn to begin with, is not capable, and under conditions that all of us are going to encounter, irregardless of where we're at shooting. We've had wind blowing for a solid 3 weeks. I have not been able to do any type of shooting for over 3 weeks here where I live. There's wind all over, wherever you're at hunting. It may show to be dead still where you're at, but out there at 500, 600, 700, 800 yards or whatever the distance is, let's say that there's some elk working their way around the peak of a mountain. Well, right there's an ideal spot for wind currents. There's not a wind, but there's wind currents. Those wind currents are going to dictate a wounded animal. And you don't know whether that wind current is going left or you don't know whether it's going right, because there's not anything out there in this so-called sophisticated shooting world. You're going to pull out your app that's going to tell you that there's a wind current out there that it can't detect in the first place? There's nothing. There's not one thing that's going to tell you what's happening. And since you don't know, you have no idea, you shouldn't be pulling the trigger in the first place. Most of our game, honestly, is taken inside of 300 yards. Probably even half of that, a lot of it. And I think that people need to pay attention. Pay attention to what is really happening here. Think about it in your own mind. Think about it in your own mind. This is not hunting, shooting something at 1,000, 11, 1,200 yards. I've even heard of some of these folks that claim to be these long-range experts locate something at 450, 500 yards and back off 500 yards to shoot at it. This is nothing short of insanity, and it's driven by ego. They don't care. They don't care anything about the wildlife. I know that there's game that's never been recovered. Dozens of bighorn sheep haven't been recovered in this part of Wyoming, being shot at by the long-range fraternity. This is not right. This is not acceptable. Pointing out the bighorn sheep because it's such a majestic animal, and you maybe only draw a tag in it once in a lifetime. I've drawn 2 tags in 50 years. That's how hard it was. I wouldn't think of trying to shoot at a bighorn ram at 700, 800, 900, 1,100 yards. I think about 400 yards is a hell of a long poke to shoot at a bighorn ram. Very experienced people that guide an outfit tell me that they can put their hunters inside of 250 yards on any game that they're guiding their hunters for. And if that's the aspect, you see, we've got outfitters that simply won't let you hunt with them. If you've got one of these so-called long-range rifles with these big high-power scopes, too much power, you can't even find the game in the scope because the scope's turned up to too high a power. There's just no end to problems here. And if people that are doing these things, if you think that you're fooling the experienced shooting world out here, you're only kidding yourself. You're lying to us, and you're lying to yourself.